Greetings, welcome back to Black Bear News, where we are discussing climate change, abrupt climate change, and things adjacent. And thank you all for your comments. Discussion, as always. This channel, just like life, kind of just goes in waves. It's just funny, you know, some weeks I feel like, you know, not just me, but me and the viewers and myself, all of us as a whole seem to be riding like a bigger wave. And some weeks are just, everything feels kind of wonky and off and weird. This is one of those weeks, but you know, it's just like life. You just kind of power through, shake it off, keep going, et cetera, et cetera. And, you know, as evidenced, a lot of the viewers go through, you know, waves, emotional waves of being absent or being present or commenting or not commenting, or, you know, it's all good. As always, lots to cover. I wanted to remark on how rabidly the powers that be in the mainstream media are attacking AOC and the Green New Deal and everything, the whole idea of the Green New Deal and climate change and what's going on. I mean, they are just losing their goddamn minds. I mean, they're just blowing smoke. Like, it's insane. But predictable. But when I'm here, you know, I'm hearing the invective more and more every day. And when I hear it, the more I hear it, the more I think we don't have a chance. We just don't have a chance because these people are stuck on stupid. They are holding tight to everything's fine, and there's no possible way that this can be reality, or this can be real, or this can be our future. Like, there's just not even a crack of a possibility for at least the right-wing people, the Trumpers, the Fox News people. I mean, they are like guns blazing, full bore every single night now. It's just all about AOC and the Green New Deal and how crazy everybody is. Oh my God, we're going to have to give up hamburgers and airplanes and cars. And they're just like, oh God, these all these stupid, crazy kids. And it's just like, you guys are the biggest, dumbest dopes like that ever lived in the history of living. I mean, you guys are just stupid. And it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing for the human race. I don't know what to say. I just sometimes I laugh, sometimes I chuckle, and sometimes I'm just like, I don't want to, you know, let me off the planet. I don't want to be here anymore. It's probably going to ramp up, but so you know, this is what happens when climate change, or the reality of climate change, hits the mainstream. It's just a full frontal attack. It's full on like denialism, heavy. I don't know how it is in other countries, but in the U.S., it is right now. It is about as heavy as I've ever heard it, because now it's in the open, and now you got to talk about it, and you can't, you know, the mainstream media can't like bring it on board. They're just, and it's the left and the right. The left, you know, the left is like, we can't do this, we can't afford it, the Green New Deal, ridiculous, pie in the sky. Same stuff you heard about Bernie Sanders, same stuff you hear about any other actual progressive or leftist people. It's just so crazy. So I'm going to start with this article from Zero Hedge. A bunch of people actually, it's not, whatever. Just don't say anything about Zero. I mean, whatever. It's a source of news like any other. They usually repost from other places. Greenpeace co-founder rips pompous little twit Ocasio-Cortez as garden variety hypocrite on climate. So this is the Greenpeace co-founder. Dr. Patrick Moore has been in an ongoing spat with New York Democratic Socialist Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez over the overly ambitious Green New Deal that could quadruple the national debt. More, it's just, you know, but don't ever say anything about the military-industrial complex doubling or quadrupling the national debt. We never say that. Moore, who has since split with Greenpeace, now refers to himself as the sensible environmentalist. Hardy har. The GND calls for an ultra-progressive bucket list of environmental goals, such as the elimination of all fossil fuels, nuclear energy, air travel, 99% of cars, and retrofitting of every single building in America for the state-of-the-art energy efficiency. AOC's plan even throws in government-guaranteed jobs and simply hands cash to anyone unwilling to work, along with healthy food and a free house. I mean, you know, it's mostly right. It's mostly bang on. I mean, there's problems with it, but, you know, there's plenty of there we can work with. After AOC suggested in late February that she was in charge until somebody comes up with a better plan, Moore fired back, tweeting "Pompous little twit." What a, you know, what a jerk. Hold on. What else does this sensible environmentalist have to say? He says, you don't have a plan to grow food for 8 billion people without fossil fuels or get the food into the cities. Horses? If fossil fuels were banned, every tree in the world would be cut down for fuel, for cooking and heating. You would bring about mass death. I mean, you know, on some level, he's right, you know, given the science of global dimming and other things. But I mean, he's just shooting it down. You know, he's about as stupid as a conservative. You don't have a plan to grow food for 8 billion people, and that's why she's also talking about not having children. She's talking about the population as a problem. I mean, she's talking about the things that she knows what's up. She knows what's going on. And but so here's a guy who's, you know, he's not a conservative. He's a liberal. He's a co-founder of Greenpeace. Moore has continued his criticism, calling AOC a garden variety hypocrite like the others, who has zero expertise at any of the things you pretend to know. Because I know so much. My name is Patrick Moore. Anyways. Seriously, like crazy stuff going on right now. I mean, she's being attacked by all sides, left and right, because they know she's onto something. She's over the target. So she's really being jumped on hard, and she's already in office, and they've got to do everything to discredit her before, you know, while they cook up a plan to get rid of her. And they're cooking. You know, they're cooking. They're absolutely cooking. Anybody remember Cynthia McKinney back in the mid 2000s? And she was defiantly against the Iraq war, and also she was starting to uncover some not so pretty things about child trafficking involving DynCorp and some other kind of offshoots of the military industrial complex. And they were like, that's it, you're out of here. And they figured out a way to get rid of her. They're definitely trying to do that to AOC. Moving on, I'm going to just try and hit a bunch of articles very quickly. This is an article from Pacific Standard, why new forests are better at sequestering carbon than old ones. Younger plants are able to extract carbon from the air and incorporate it into their biomass more quickly than mature trees. Forests store vast quantities of carbon and play a huge role in the world's carbon cycle, as well as in human hopes of mitigating global warming. Tropical rainforests, the revered lungs of the planet, were once thought to take the cake when it comes to carbon sequestration, but a new study adds to a growing body of evidence that other types of forests may actually be better at sucking CO2 out of the atmosphere. Specifically, it finds that young temperate forests may be more effective carbon sinks than our old rainforests. Researchers at the Birmingham Institute of Forest Research in the United Kingdom modeled carbon storage in old growth and regrown forests between 1981 and 2010 using recent data on forest ages as well as the latest global land covered change data set produced by the University of Maryland. Their results, published recently in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, reveal that intact old growth forests sequestered 950 million to 1.11 billion metric tons of carbon per year, while younger forests, those that have been growing less than 140 years, stored between 1.17 and 1.66 billion metric tons per year. This isn't the first time younger regenerated forests have attracted the climate spotlight. Another UK study published just last month in quaternary Science Reviews found that a period of cooling during the 16th and 17th centuries called the Little Ice Age was caused by forest regrowth following the deaths of millions of indigenous people in the Americas due to European colonization. And we talked about that a bit. Anyways, that's all I'm going to read of that. That's just the basic info. You guys, I'm going to link that below, and you guys can check that out for yourselves. So there's a brutal Arctic air mass is about to take over the U.S. This is from 2 days ago. So we have yet another polar vortex coming in. And we also have very high heat, anomalously high heat in the Arctic. Energy companies are not prepared for America's spring cold snap. An unseasonably prolonged blast of cold air is predicted to chill the United States this week across the Midwest and the Northeast of the country, leaving power companies struggling desperately to keep up with demand. After the unusual snowstorm, which hit normally mild regions of the United States this week, there will be a persistent cold spell in the early days of March this year with a further snowstorm forecast for the weekend, explains meteorologist Ed Valley. Valley says that this will raise heating demands to an anomalous level for this time of year across the entire northern tier of the U.S. Power companies predict how much fuel they will need for each part of the year based on weather models and energy demand forecasts, which is why unseasonable weather can throw the entire organizational process into complete disarray. The main power companies in the United States have uniformly forecast relatively mild weather for this week of the year and have planned their fuel allocation accordingly. This means that they are simply not prepared to deal with the unexpected cold snap and do not have the resources available to keep up with energy demands, which are expected to peak in the Pacific Northeast region to levels not seen in March for a decade. Power companies throughout the country have warned of restricted access to their services over the coming week. And unfortunately for consumers, the unusual circumstances could see a considerable boost in energy prices in some areas of the country, such as Iowa. The effects of this have already been seen with spot gas provided by Northern Natural Gas's Ventura jumping 4 times in price, quadrupling, according to David Hoy, an energy trader with Dynasty Power Inc. This is an absolutely unprecedented price jack. It appears that other power suppliers may also pass the cost of keeping the lights on to the consumers over the coming week. Rich Margolin, a senior natural gas analyst at Genscape Inc., has explained that the boost in demand may force power suppliers to draw from natural gas supplies to keep up. Yeah, okay. Scary stuff. Another article seems to be making the rounds, or another study just out. This is from today from the HuffPost. Raging ocean heat waves are cooking marine ecosystems, new study finds. Scientists compares spiking temperatures to devastating wildfires in the sea. The number of days of intense heat waves in the ocean have increased more than 50% in the last 30 years and have devastated marine ecosystems when they've hit, according to a new study. Several regions in the Pacific, the Atlantic, and the Indian Ocean are particularly vulnerable to the water temperature surges because of their fragile biodiversity and a prevalence of species already at their warm range edges, according to the study published Monday in Nature Climate Change. Coral reefs in the Caribbean, seagrass in Australia, and kelp forests off California, all rooted in their environments, have been particularly hurt by heat waves, according to the study. The loss of these critical foundation species in an intricate ecosystem can trigger a cascading die-off that ultimately affects humans as shelter is destroyed and the food chain is broken. Lead researcher Dan Smale of the Marine Biological Association in Britain compared the extreme heat to wildfires. You have heat wave induced wildfires that take out huge areas of forest, but this is happening underwater as well, he told The Guardian. You see the kelp and seagrasses dying in front of you. Within weeks or months, they're just gone, along hundreds of miles of coastline. The study, which analyzed a broad range of data from other research, noted that record-breaking events have been observed in most ocean basins in the past decade. Projections indicate that heat waves will become more frequent, more intense, and longer lasting throughout the 21st century. Can anybody say, uh-oh? Going to cover a few other quick little items, and I'm going to read a couple of comments. So this has also been making the rounds, and I haven't really said anything about it, but a lot of people have been talking about this climate rewind. This is from Science Daily. Scientists turn carbon dioxide back into coal. New technique can efficiently convert CO2 from gas into solid particles of carbon. Scientists have harnessed liquid metals to turn carbon dioxide back into solid coal, and research that offers an alternative pathway for safely and permanently removing the greenhouse gas from our atmosphere. The new technique can convert carbon dioxide back into carbon at room temperature, a process that's efficient and scalable. A side benefit is that the carbon can hold an electrical charge, becoming a supercapacitor, so it could potentially be used as a component in future vehicles. Researchers have used liquid metals to turn carbon dioxide back into solid coal in a world first breakthrough that could transform our approach to carbon capture and storage. The research team led by RMIT University in Melbourne, Australia, have developed a new technique that can efficiently convert CO2 from a gas into solid particles of carbon. Current technologies for carbon capture and storage focus on compressing CO2 into a liquid form, transporting it to a suitable site, and injecting it underground. But implementation has been hampered by engineering challenges, issues around economic viability, and environmental concerns about possible leaks from storage sites. RMIT researcher Dr. Torben Deinecke said converting CO2 into a solid could be a more sustainable approach. While we can't literally turn back time, turning carbon dioxide back into coal and burying it back in the ground is a bit like rewinding the emissions clock. Deinecke, an Australian Research Council DECRA fellow, said, to date, CO2 has only been converted into a solid at extremely high temperatures, making it industrially unviable. By using liquid metals as a catalyst, we've shown it's possible to turn the gas back into carbon at room temperature in a process that's efficient and scalable. They're saying a lot of the same things twice. It's fine. How the carbon conversion works. Lead author, Dr. Dorna Ezra Filzadeh, a vice chancellor's research fellow in RMIT School of Engineering, developed the electrochemical technique to capture and convert atmospheric CO2 to storable solid carbon. To convert CO2, the researchers designed a liquid metal catalyst with specific surface properties that made it extremely efficient at conducting electricity while chemically activating the surface. The carbon dioxide is dissolved in a beaker filled with an electrolyte liquid and a small amount of the liquid metal, which is then charged with an electrical current. The CO2 slowly converts into solid flakes of carbon, which are naturally detached from the liquid metal surface, allowing the continuous production of carbonaceous solid. Ezra Filzadeh said the carbon produced could also be used as an electrode. A side benefit of the process is that the carbon can hold electrical charge, becoming a supercapacitor, so it could potentially be used as a component in future vehicles. So, okay, I'm going to link this below. Interesting. They're going to do this, A. because they have the technology, and they're going to get better at it. And as we progress, as we go along, this is, this is going to happen. This is going to be scaled up. It looks fairly promising, actually. We need carbon storage. We need carbon capture. We absolutely need to do that if we're going to have any chance. Obviously, the downside of this is that this probably could allow a lot of people to think like, but let's keep, living how we live and doing what we do, and destroying the earth and burning fossil fuels, and, et cetera, et cetera. This could only be a good thing if it's used in conjunction with, going back to a low fossil fuel lifestyle, and basically still continuing to convert our economy to something that's low carbon emitting, and also more respectful of the earth on all counts, right? So we're going to have to still keep looking for ways to treat the earth more kindly, of course, much more kindly. That's an understatement, by the way. But I mean, it's promising. Okay, I'm going to read this random news article just because I thought it was interesting. But a London man is second adult in the world to be considered cleared of HIV. So apparently something's been happening, and a few people have been, quote unquote, cured of HIV. The London patient gives doctors hope that they might soon find a cure for AIDS. So I think it's kind of like a byproduct, or it happened accidentally, but doctor said a London man with HIV has become the second known adult in the world to be apparently cleared of the infection since the global epidemic began decades ago, giving hope for a potential cure for AIDS. Doctor said that recent tests showed no trace of the man's previous HIV infection. The milestone came about 3 years after the man, excuse me, about 3 years after the man received bone marrow stem cells from an HIV-resistant donor, and about 1.5 years after coming off antiretroviral drugs. The patient was receiving the bone marrow transplant for cancer. The case offers hope that researchers will soon find a cure for AIDS, but doctors cautioned against calling the patient's results a cure for HIV, the virus that causes AIDS. Anyways, interesting stuff. Obviously, medicine is also progressing apace, and at a far quicker pace than it was in the past. And that's a great thing. I mean, maybe we could get rid of the HIV virus, and that would be a wonderful thing indeed. So I'm going to finish this video with a few comments that I thought were pretty good. This first one is from Butch Koch, or Koch. I don't know how you pronounce your name, sir. Koch, like Koch brothers, but some people might go by Koch. Aside from the fact that we've been bamboozled through obfuscation by those who control and own us, and sadly only some of us are seeing that light, everything talked about doing by, let's say, 2030 is irrelevant. Those sounding the clarion for decades plus have always been relegated to the conspiracy nuts, or mislabeled as communists or other governmental control agencies. We baked in our demise years ago when we all jumped on the fossil fuel fiesta bandwagon with the me, self-important society. I'm a denier in that I deny the plausibility of humanity to escape the incredible disinformation system Orwell and so many others warned about. Talk about disconnect. Climate is but one facet of the collapsing on the horizon. Yeah, it's funny. That's basically how I feel doing this channel, is like, I feel like maybe some people who are not aware of this, or don't want to be aware of this, who run across this channel, I'm like one of those nutty people, or we're all nutty people, right? Conspiracy theorists, or, radical, super radical, or way out there, or whatever. But, we're all just clued into the science that everybody else has been very, very afraid to really wrap their minds around. I mean, this is all scientifically based. The actual reality of climate change and how quickly it's happening. And more people are coming to the conclusion that we don't have time. We don't have time to turn this around. It's inevitable. Fight anyways, but prepare yourselves, et cetera, et cetera. As terrible of a message as that is and can sound like, I mean, it's rooted in reality. So, and yet still, people don't want to hear it. They're like, you're a nut, you're a lunatic, don't talk to me about this. You're super strange. No, you're super strange. You don't want to accept or face or deal with reality. Or with the severeness, the emergency nature of the reality that we're in right now. It's the old story. It's the age-old adage of everybody in the room being insane and the one sane person in the room being called crazy. And that's basically what abrupt climate change or near-term human extinction folks are dealing with. And there's lots of, there's a spectrum in there of degrees of doom. So whatever. Where are you on the spectrum of doom? Are you a heavy doomer? Are you a light doomer? Are you in the red? Are you in the deep red? I'm going to box with my microphone. Are you in the deep red or are you in the pink? Maybe in the light blue? I don't know. I'm going to move on to one more comment from Phosphorus72. The reason I do not depend on hope, even in the slightest, is that we are dealing with the most entitled, uninspired, and uninspiring population of humans on this planet. One or two individuals or even a group of individuals is not going to make a dent or a difference here. The majority of people lack any personal passion, self-discipline, or self-sacrifice to make any significant changes, which would impact the greater good, much less themselves. People want any action or preparation for a crisis to be short-lived so they can go back to their comfortable and easy living conditions or environment. They are all ill-motivated to concern themselves with changes that would be necessary to bring about alterations on a permanent basis, even though that's coming whether we like it or not. How do you put a fire under the ass of humans who are heavily addicted to drugs, booze, technology, media, complacency, and general escapism? You don't. Only if you take these things away. And then, like spoiled children, they will make everyone else's lives a living hell because the majority are now narcissistically entitled. So many people are heavily overweight and obese, and they want and enjoy this life of constant overconsumption. Humans have always needed, like any other animal species, to have their survival instincts primed almost constantly in order to keep our wits sharp, our awareness peaked, and to garner wisdom from struggle, strife, and suffering. But not today's first world human animal. They abhor even the slightest suffering or inconvenience. Super true. And it's getting worse. It's getting worse. Technology, access, ease, comfort, are all making it easier and easier and easier for people to be entitled, little narcissistic people. And even if you're not basically narcissistic or entitled, you're still on some level entitled to, well, I worked really hard, so I deserve all this stuff. This is how we live. This is just how we do it. Well, I don't know what you're talking about. It's crazy. Why would we do anything different? This is fine. We're fine. Everything's okay. Stop making me feel, stop making me feel bad, man. Because I don't want to. The worst thing you can do is make somebody feel bad. Don't do that. Because you're bringing everybody down, dude. It's just craziness. But yeah, prepare for even more just bizarre stupidity from human beings in the coming months and years. Especially as this becomes more apparent and more obvious, the more politicians and news people are going to have to address it. The alternative news people are addressing it. And the more they address it, the more the mainstream and the powers that be and the, you know, the people that just want everything to remain normal, they're going to just lose their minds trying to be like, shut up, shut up, shut up. Please stop it. Until they can't anymore. I don't know what point that is. Is that point at which, is that the point at which we collapse? We have widespread famine, or when there just cannot be any normalcy at all, or does that come sooner? I don't know. Who knows? You know, again, placing bets on when, you know, people come to the realization en masse that things are never going to be the same again. Is that 1 year, 3 years, 5 years? I don't know. That's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for your eyes, your ears, and your conscience. If you would like to support this channel, you can do so at the links below. Until next time, peace.